It's Wednesday, and you know what that means. Time to continue our deep dive into the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse in another What If episode. This time, the episode I've been dying to talk about the most. This is my review of Marvel's What If Episode 2, Tchalla Starlord. The Watcher takes us to a universe where Tchalla and not Peter Quill was picked up by Yondu as a child and became Starlord. Now, before I dive into my thoughts on this episode, first of all, there will be spoilers. This is a full spoiler review. If you want to hear my general non-spoiler thoughts on this episode, I review for all first 3 episodes of What If, and I'll link them up here. You can go check those out. I also obviously covered the Captain Carter episode last week, so you can go show that some love too. And I want to know your thoughts on this week's episode down there in the comment section below. Start the conversation. It's always the most important part, and I'll join you as soon as you start it. Also, if this is the first video you're clicking to watch on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on it. I really appreciate it. Why don't you consider clicking the subscribe button if you want to see more, if you want to help the content get out there and spread around, and join a beautiful film fan community. I am not able to oversell how much I adore this episode of Marvel's What If. It fulfills the promise of this wacky premise. It changes one character around, but it changes the entire world around them, and this just goes on a character standpoint. T'Challa is such an incredible character in this. The way he picks people, instead of just killing them, throw them away, and steal from them, he actually convinces characters in this universe to turn into good. He takes Korag with him. Soon enough, we find out that Thanos was converted by T'Challa and he's now a good guy and a member of the Ravages. One of my favorite elements of this episode is seeing good guy Thanos, and once more obviously voiced by Josh Brolin. Most everyone returns in this episode. I couldn't quite make out the voice of the Collector, but I don't think it is Benicio del Toro, but you guys will correct me if I'm wrong on that one. And obviously Batista didn't come back to voice Drax the Destroyer, but he has one very quick scene, but immediately, just in that one scene, you immediately realize how different the relationship between this Drax and this Starlord is different from our main Drax and our main Starlord. And I really love seeing that. I really love seeing T'Challa being the nobleman, the altruistic hero of the galaxy. And instead of just killing people, hey, join us, get a second chance at life, become good, help us actually save the galaxy. And obviously we're talking about this episode, we're talking about T'Challa, we have to talk about the late great Chadwick Boseman, who does such a great job in this. He's truly wonderful in this role. He brings a sense of humanity, a sense of really good comedic timing, but also someone that understands that everyone around him is flawed. And obviously when it comes to the action, he kicks a lot of ass too. That scene at the end with him and Yondu teaming up to kick the ass of the Collector is really awesome, but we'll get to it. I want to talk about the chemistry, the sexual chemistry between T'Challa and Nebula. This is a pairing I never knew, I never thought of, but I need it so much, and I want to see so much from them. I love the little quips back and forth. I love their banter. I love how comfortable around each other they are, and still yet having some reservations. They don't just throw their truths around to one another. They're holding themselves back, but still you can feel that chemistry really well through the screen, through just their voices and obviously the animation, which once again is great. I love that most of this episode is set in nowhere, and I think this is the episode that out of the first 3 does the most with the time it is given. I think all the episodes that I've seen, the first 3, work really well in the 30-minute increments that they are given, but I think this one is the one that does the most stuff with it, goes the wildest with it, and just presents the richer universe, the richer timeline in this case. I love every single little bit of change to the characters, to the world. I think it's incredibly fulfilling to watch this episode. This is the one episode that I thought I want just an entire season or an entire show with 5 seasons in this timeline alone. Another thing that I really like in this episode is the explanation of T'Challa being brought in. Yondu did not want him, but the rest of the Ravagers think all humans look the same, which I thought, well, that makes sense for aliens, but also it's extremely funny. I also really love the immediate consequences of Thanos being turned good. With the biggest power in the universe disappearing, someone is going to take his seat, and so Thanos is now part of the Ravagers, and the Collector took a seat, and it took the Black Order with him, and so now they obey the command of the Collector, who, by the way, has taken a lot of protein smoothies into himself. He's eaten a lot of soup, got a lot of carbs on that, a lot of protein. That's my man, good on you, Collector. And so we immediately feel the sense of every little bit of change completely dismantles the timeline as we know it. Now the power dynamics have completely shifted. The Collector is just kidnapping aliens and putting them in glass cases as if they were museum exhibits. And when our heroes decide to go into the Collector's vault and steal from him, turns out he's aware of it, and in the meantime, T'Challa finds the truth about what happened to him, because he grew up thinking his home was destroyed, that everyone and everything he knew had disappeared, but turns out Yondu just kidnaps him. I really love this discovery. I like that there is some friction between this father figure and the son figure, much like in our main MCU timeline, but this Yondu just took it a step too far. And so it's great to see T'Challa taking the lead, being our main character, but you see everyone playing their part. When Thanos decides to stand up to the Black Order to save his daughter, it's great character development, and it shows the true change that T'Challa brought onto him. I do wish Thanos would have been a little stronger, even without the gauntlet, even without any of the Infinity Stones. I just think he should have stood his ground a little bit more, even if he was at a disadvantage. But I like how him and Nebula also come together by the end. It's just a real fun episode from beginning to end, on a character standpoint, on the visuals, on the score, on the action. It all just really works. It all really stands out in a great way. The climatic fight scene with Yondu and T'Challa teaming up back together against the Collector not only has a lot of emotional emphasis into it, but it's just an awesome action sequence. And in its conclusion, the story is guided once more by character, by the nobility and altruism of T'Challa as he tosses the Collector into a glass case, lets the girl have at him, releases all the aliens, and they all have a piece of him. Justice is served. A really sweet touch to conclude a great fight, but have the character guide the story and the turns it takes. And by the end of the episode, we get two really interesting scenes. Number one, T'Challa goes back to Wakanda, they receive him, T'Chaka is not dead, he's there to embrace his son, and immediately you want to see what changes now. Does he go back to space? Does he stay king of Wakanda? Does he do both? Is the king of Wakanda allowed to go out into space to save the galaxy and not stay constantly in Wakanda? I need answers, Marvel. And the episode goes out of their way to confirm something that immediately became an afterthought as you heard the premise, because Peter Quill is no longer a factor into this, but then turns out he's working at a fast food restaurant and Ego has come to Earth. I need to see where this goes. Desperately. I need to see the rest of the story because they know what they are doing. This is not over. I want to see more of Nebula and Tchalla, more of good guy Thanos, more of fanboy Korg. By the way, that scene in the beginning where he freaks out and he knows the name of Starlord. Beautiful, beautiful touch.
Oh, Starlord! I'm a huge fan of your work. What are you doing here?
That was not the reaction I was expecting.
Hey, stop! Show some respect! This is the Starlord, legendary outlaw.
It's an emotional episode, it's a funny episode, it's a fun, action-packed episode. This episode of What If really checked all the marks for me. I really really love this episode. I think it raises the bar for the rest of the season, for the rest of this show. I think this is the wild change in timelines that we really want to see, and I think this episode really fulfills it. And as sad as it is, I think it's a great last performance from Chadwick Boseman as this character, maintaining the truth, the essence of this character in a wildly different scenario. I love this. Episode 2 of What If is by far my favorite, and it's gonna be tough for the rest of the season to top it, at least for me. I'm giving Marvel's What If Episode 2, T'Challa Starlord, an A. Seriously, this review could have been just 1 minute of me saying how much I love this episode, because I love this episode. But I want to know your thoughts. Go ahead and start commenting in the comments below. Let's start a conversation with each other, engage with one another and with me. Thank you so much for watching. You are the best. We'll be back next week for the 3rd episode, the last one I have already seen at this point, and I hope to see you in there too. And remember, if you're still watching and this was your first video, consider clicking that subscribe button, because if you're still watching, you enjoyed it on some level. Thank you so much once more for watching, and until the next one, love each other and love the movies.